Our next speaker is Jos Linn, who is the Senior Associate for U.S. Poverty Campaigns and Results. Jos works to engage grassroots activists and supports existing grassroots volunteers in Results anti-poverty advocacy work. Jos also coordinates policy work on issues of economic opportunity, and he's conducted trainings around the country on the importance of volunteer advocacy. Coaches on techniques of effective citizen advocates, and gives them tools for successful media advocacy. Prior to coming to Results in 2006, Jos worked as an attorney and then as a school administrator. Jos is a 1990 graduate of the William Jewell College in Missouri and a 1993 graduate of the Drake University Law School. He also received his MBA from the University of Kansas in 2002. Jos and his wife, Laura, live in West Des Moines, Iowa, and have one daughter, Stella, who's 7 years old. Jos?
Can y'all hear me?
No? Now?
Okay, done. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for coming today. As Mark said, my name is Jos Linn, and I'm both a volunteer and a staff member with Results. And I always appreciate coming to places like Austin because I grew up in Virginia, but have lived in the Midwest for the last 25 years, so I always appreciate the opportunity to re-thicken my accent. So, and I also want to thank Julie for her inspiring talk. You know, what a great vision of the world to see that, you know, we all can make, you know, everyday small choices that really can make a difference. And that's a great lesson for us all to learn. You know, when there are so many problems in the world today, which seem too far off on the horizon to be able to solve, we need those reminders that just taking the first step is the most important one. Because that first step is more than just a step. It's a choice not to give in to doubt. It's a triumph over inertia or despondency. It's an affirmation telling us that no matter what kind of distance we have to travel, we're still going to go. And that's the first step inevitably leads to a second step, and a third step, and a fourth. And before we know it, we look back and we see how far we've traveled and that our goal is now within our reach. Our Results is all about first steps. From our founding over 30 years ago, we've been working toward a grand goal of ending poverty in the world through countless first steps. I'm a prime example of it. You know, without Results, I wouldn't have learned the difference I can make in the world. You see, before I got involved with Results, I was one of those people who did a lot of complaining about politics. I'd read about the decisions our leaders were making, and I'd just get mad. And the more I read, the madder I got. And pretty soon, I felt like this kind of lead brick was building up in my stomach. It would get bigger and bigger. The more I read, the more madder I got. And the only action I took was to share my frustration with those around me. You know, they say you shouldn't discuss politics in polite company. Well, I was perfectly willing to be impolite. But around this time, I found Results. And thank goodness I did. Literally, from the first week I got involved with Results, that feeling in my gut, that lead brick just vanished. Poof, gone. Now, I'd always thought that that feeling had been rooted in some kind of anger or frustration at the things that I was seeing. But that couldn't have been the explanation, because when it disappeared, those things hadn't changed. So when I thought about it more, I realized that the frustration and brooding that I felt wasn't rooted in any kind of anger. It was rooted in hopelessness. Now, I felt hopeless about what I was seeing our leaders do, and I felt helpless to do anything about it. But once I got involved with Results, once I started doing something, once I took that first step, that feeling disappeared. It all changed. And this is the best gift that Results has given me. You know, when I get frustrated, and yes, I still do, I don't just sit and stew about it. I do something. I make a call, send an email, I write a letter, I schedule a meeting, I change my buying habits. Whatever step I need to take to move myself and the issues I care about forward. And the best part of it all is that I'm not alone. You know, when Sam Bailey Harris founded Results back in 1980, he recognized from the outset, when we're walking this path towards a just world, it's better to have others walking alongside him. He knew that if you don't have others around you who can work with you, who can celebrate with you, who can commiserate with you, it doesn't work. And only by working together can we make this happen. Now, his plan was quite genius. You transform the individual by empowering him or her to recognize that their voice matters. And then you connect them with like-minded people to harness their collective power for change. As a result, Results has over 100 advocacy groups around the country and more overseas, meeting and taking action every single month and bringing us closer to the end of poverty here in the United States and around the world. And you can see them in this room today. Look at the wonderful people who organized this event and the other Results volunteers in the room. These are people who have jobs. They have families. They have busy schedules just like the rest of us. Yet they get together every month right here in Austin or in Houston or in Dallas or Des Moines or Columbus, wherever you are, and learn how they can create a poverty-free world, and then they go out and do it. They write, they call, they meet legislators, they generate media. You can see it over here. They go to Washington, D.C. to lobby their members of Congress. And then they raise money to support this work through impressive events like this. Why? Because at one point or another in the past, they took that first step too. That leap of faith to reject the notion that ending poverty is a lost cause. Instead, they chose to believe in something that could change everything. The power of our own voice. Now, many years have passed since that first step with these folks, but just look at what Results volunteers here in Austin as well as around the world have accomplished. They helped secure funding for microfinance programs around the world, which have helped over 100 million people, some of the poorest people in the world, become more self-sufficient. They've helped children and families get access to early childhood services like Head Start, which now is helping 960,000 children and their families break the cycle of poverty and build a bright future for themselves. They helped increase tuberculosis prevention funding from $1 million in 1997 to over $240 million in 2011. This funding has saved millions of lives and has helped us make enormous strides in the fight against AIDS. You see, TB kills half of all HIV/AIDS patients in the world each year. And they successfully helped them expand the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit, which lifted 8.7 million people out of poverty in the United States last year, and the majority of those were children. Results advocates are good at what they do. And anyone can do this. Now let me tell you of my proudest Results moment, which happened just this past October. That's when a letter to the editor appeared in my hometown paper, the largest paper in Iowa. A letter written by my 7-year-old daughter, Stella. Now let me preface this, that the issue at the center of this story, PBS funding, has nothing to do with Results. It's not something we work on. And it does involve a presidential candidate, but we are very nonpartisan, so I don't want to offend anybody that way. But that's just part of the story. So here's what happened. You see, Stella had heard that Mitt Romney had proposed to cut PBS funding. Now, she had been watching PBS Kids for years, and she credits PBS Kids for helping her learn how to read. So the thought of losing that made her mad and sad. So I told her, Stella, if you really care about this issue, why don't you write a letter to the editor, to the paper, and tell people what you thought? And she did. So on a Saturday night, she sat down with pencil and paper, and she wrote out her letter in support of PBS, and we faxed it in. Then on Monday, I called a friend at the paper to see if it was received and asked, do they even print letters from little kids? So she told me, this friend told me that they did, and they would consider it, and this is among hundreds of letters that they get every week. So on Tuesday morning, remember this started on Saturday, now it's Tuesday, you can imagine our surprise when Stella's letter was front and center on the editorial page, not just a typed version of it, her actual handwritten letter, right there. We were stunned, and Stella was ecstatic. She screamed for 30 seconds straight in the bed, brought it up to her. But the story doesn't end there. It just so happens that Governor Romney was visiting the Des Moines Register editorial board that same day. And at that meeting, they showed him the letter and asked him to comment on it. But she did. So in 3 days' time, my 7-year-old daughter went from total obscurity to garnering the attention of, at that time, potentially the next president of the United States. Now, Stella gets all the credit for writing this great letter. That's all her words. But Results gets credit for making it happen. If we're not for Results, if Results hadn't taught me about the importance of media advocacy, I wouldn't be telling you this story today. Because Results taught me about the impact of letters to the editor, I suggested that Stella write that letter. Because Results taught me the importance of getting to know editorial writers, I did so. And she's the one I called on Monday and asked about the letter, and she helped shepherd it through the publishing process. This writer is also the one who emailed me that afternoon to say, hey, we just showed it to Mitt Romney. And because Results taught me the importance of sharing these successes with others, Stella's letter crisscrossed the country via Facebook and email, inspiring others to write their own letters. That's what Results does. It changes lives. You know, I heard a great quote recently that said, many people want to make a difference in the world, but only some want to make the world different. Because of Results, a single mom in Columbus, Ohio now can afford a decent child care when she goes to work. Because of Results, a Bangladeshi woman can now earn enough to feed her family because of a local microfinance group. Because of Results, a working dad in Dallas will get the earned income tax credit and not have to turn to a payday lender for help. And because of Results, a second grader from West Des Moines now knows that her voice matters and can be heard at the highest levels of government. Results, volunteers are working to make the world different. All it takes is that first step, that choice to make the world different. You see it too. You being here today is a first step. There are hundreds of other things that you could be doing right now. But during one of the busiest times of the year, you chose to spend your Sunday afternoon here. But sometimes we think inspiration has to come in grand and amazing gestures. But your presence here is as inspiring as it gets. Because it shows that seated in that first step, in every first step, whatever it is hope. All I need to know is that because of your hope, we will succeed. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Jos. That was very good. It was a surprise to me about Stella's letter. I picked him up at the airport yesterday, and we went and did things. He never mentioned this. So.